The days after the unexpected duel were strange for both Selina and John. The royal city of Anaris buzzed with whispers. People spoke of the princess who had faced the human, and not only spared him from a fight, but embraced him in a hug. It was an odd and unexpected turn of events, and for many, it was difficult to understand. Selina could not stop thinking about what had happened. She had spent her entire life training for battle, learning to fight, to be strong. Strength, honor, and victory were all that mattered in her world. Yet, here was a human who had done something that no one had ever dared to do. He had shown her kindness. And it was that kindness that had shaken her beliefs. For the first time, she questioned everything she had known. Her father, the king, had always told her that power came through force, through winning battles. She had been taught to never show weakness, never back down from a challenge. But John's words and his actions were different. He had chosen peace, not violence. He had chosen understanding, not combat. Selina didn't know how to feel. She was confused. Selina spent the next few days avoiding John, not because she wanted to, but because she was trying to figure out what to do with the feelings inside her. She didn't want to admit it, but she was starting to admire John. He was nothing like the warriors she had fought before. He was calm, patient, and, above all, kind. Yet in her world, those things were not seen as strengths. She was taught to believe that a true leader had to be powerful, fierce, and unyielding. One afternoon, as she walked through the royal gardens, Selina felt the weight of her thoughts. The flowers around her were blooming, but her heart felt heavy. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing inside her, and she didn't know how to stop it. She had always been certain about her path until now. And now, everything felt uncertain. As she wandered deeper into the garden, she saw John standing near the edge of the water. His back was to her, and he was staring out at the calm surface of the pond. He looked peaceful, lost in thought. Lena's heart raced as she approached him. She had avoided him for days, but now she felt drawn to him. John heard her footsteps and turned around. When he saw her, he smiled, his face lighting up with warmth. "Selina," he said softly, his voice calm as always. For a moment, Selina stood still, unsure of what to say. The words she had rehearsed in her mind seemed to escape her. "John, I don't understand," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. John's expression became serious, but his eyes still held that kind softness. "Understand what?" She took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Why didn't you fight me? You had the chance to prove yourself, to show everyone your strength, and yet you chose not to." John thought for a moment before replying. "I don't believe that fighting makes someone strong," he said. "To me, strength isn't about defeating others. It's about knowing when to fight and when to show kindness. Strength is in choosing peace when everyone else expects war." Selina frowned. "But my people believe that strength comes from victory, from being the strongest, from being the best in battle. I was taught that peace is for the weak." John took a step closer to her, his eyes never leaving hers. "I think your people are wrong. Peace takes more courage than any fight. It's harder to choose peace when everything around you is telling you to fight. That takes true strength." Selina's heart pounded in her chest. His words were difficult to accept, but they made her think. For the first time, she began to question her training, her upbringing, and the expectations that had been placed on her as a princess. Was strength truly only about power? Was it only about winning wars and defeating enemies? Or was there more to it? John continued, "I never wanted to fight you, Selina. I've seen so much fighting in my life, and I've seen what it does to people. It doesn't bring peace. It just brings more pain. I wanted to show you that there's another way." Selina felt a knot form in her stomach. Was he right? Was her entire life built on the wrong idea? For the first time, Selina felt the walls she had built around herself begin to crack. The idea of peace, of understanding, felt so foreign to her, but it also felt right. She sat down on a nearby bench, her mind racing. "I don't know if I can change everything I've been taught," she admitted, her voice filled with doubt. "I don't know if I can just abandon everything I've learned. I was raised to be a warrior, a leader. I don't know who I am without that. John sat beside her, his presence calm and reassuring. You don't have to abandon everything, Selena, but you don't have to be just a warrior either. You can be more than that. You can be a leader who leads with compassion, not just strength. You can be the kind of leader who brings people together, not tears them apart. Selena looked at him, her heart racing. She didn't know what to say, but she knew something inside her was changing. The person she had always thought she was. The person who only cared about fighting was starting to fade away, and in her place, someone new was starting to emerge. A person who believed in peace, in kindness, in understanding. But was she ready to let go of everything she had known? John smiled at her, sensing her inner conflict. It's okay to be confused, he said. It's okay to take your time. I'm not asking you to change overnight. Just think about it. Selena nodded slowly. She didn't know what the future would hold, but for the first time in a long time, she felt hope. Maybe John was right. Maybe there was more to strength than she had ever known. On a distant planet where the skies were always bright purple and the land was covered with strange plants, the people of the planet Anaris followed old traditions. They believed in strength, honor, and combat. Every year the royal family would host a special event, the annual duel. It was a time for the most powerful warriors to prove their strength and skill. But this year, something unusual happened. The princess of Anaris, Selena, stood tall and proud in the royal courtyard. Her bright green eyes glowed with confidence, and her sharp armor shone in the sun. She was a fierce warrior, skilled in battle, and known across the galaxy for her power. Every year, she would challenge the strongest fighters from different worlds, and every year, she would win. But this time, the challenge was different. Word had spread that a human had arrived on Anaris. Selena had heard about the human, but she did not know what to expect. Humans were not known for their strength in battle, were not like the alien species she had fought before. The idea that a human could be strong seemed almost laughable to her. So she decided to challenge this human herself. The royal city buzzed with excitement as Selena made her way to the duel grounds. Crowds gathered, eager to see what would happen. The human, John, was waiting at the center of the arena. He was tall, wearing simple clothing, and had a calm look on his face. His eyes were kind, and he smiled gently as he saw Selena approach. He didn't seem nervous at all, even though Selena's reputation was legendary. When she arrived, the crowd went silent. Selena was ready. She stepped forward, her hands resting on the hilt of her sword. She looked at John with a mixture of curiosity and pride. "So, you're the human who has come to challenge me?" she asked, her voice clear and firm. John looked at her with calm eyes, but his expression was soft. "I'm not here to challenge you," he said. "I'm here to meet you, to understand you." Selena raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" she asked. "You're here to prove yourself, just like everyone else." John shook his head. "I don't believe in fighting to prove strength," he said. "I believe in showing respect and finding peaceful solutions. I want to learn about you, not fight you." The crowd was shocked. They expected a battle, not a conversation. Selena stared at John, confused. This was not the way of her people. In her world, only those who fought and won were respected. She couldn't understand why John wasn't trying to fight her, as everyone else had. "You think I'm weak?" Selena asked, her voice growing sharper. "You think you can just come here and refuse to fight me?" John's eyes softened and he took a step forward. "No," he said gently. "I think you are strong, but strength is not only about fighting. Sometimes strength is in kindness and understanding. You don't need to prove yourself by fighting me." Selena felt a strange sensation in her chest. She had always believed that strength came from winning battles, not from being kind. Her people had taught her to fight, to dominate, and to never show weakness. But John's words were different. They made her feel something she hadn't felt before. "Out, I demand." "A duel," Selena said, trying to regain her composure. "If you won't fight with weapons, we will fight with honor." John's smile didn't fade. "I understand that your people value honor, but I believe honor can come in many forms. What if, instead of fighting, we show each other respect. In a different way, the crowd murmured, not sure what to make of this strange turn of events. Some expected Selena to become angry, but instead, she stood still, thinking. The idea of not fighting was foreign to her. It was almost like an insult to her beliefs, yet something in John's calmness made her pause. His words had a strange power to them, and she couldn't ignore it. John stepped closer to her, still smiling, but his expression was full of warmth. I can't fight you, Selena, but I can give you something that's just as powerful, he said. What could you possibly offer me? Selena asked, her voice a little quieter now. Unsure of where this conversation was going, without another word, John opened his arms wide and stepped forward. He pulled Selena into a hug. The crowd gasped in shock, unsure of how to react. It was not a gesture of war or challenge. It was a gesture of peace, something that Selena had never experienced in her life at first. Selena stood frozen in his arms, unsure of what to do. This was not the way of her people. But slowly, she began to feel the tension in her shoulders ease. His touch was gentle, not forceful. It wasn't a challenge. It wasn't a fight. It was a simple, peaceful gesture. And somehow, it made her feel something she had never felt before, comfort. The crowd remained silent, unsure of how to react to this strange scene. Selena slowly pulled away, her mind racing. She had never experienced something like this in her life. Was this a sign of weakness, or was it something else entirely? She looked at John, and for the first time she saw him not as an enemy, but as someone who offered something different. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to strength than she had been taught. Thank you, Selena whispered, her voice barely audible. John smiled and nodded, his expression kind. You're welcome, Selena. The crowd slowly began to whisper among themselves. This was not the duel they had expected, but it was something far more powerful than anyone could have imagined. The days after their conversation in the garden were quieter, but Selena's mind was far from calm. The more she thought about what John had said, the more questions grew inside her. She found herself replaying their words over and over. Strength, peace, kindness, these ideas were so different from everything she had been taught, and yet something in her heart told her John might be right. As the days passed, Selena started to notice things about her life that she had never really thought about before. The constant pressure to be perfect, the need to prove her strength to everyone. The way her people had always viewed victory as the only thing that mattered, these things no longer felt as important. She had spent so much time preparing for battle, yet she had never truly thought about what kind of person she wanted to be. She thought of her father, as a king, who had always told her that a true leader must be strong, fierce, and unyielding. He had taught her that power was the greatest gift a ruler could possess. But what if there was another way? What if, instead of only fighting, she could lead with kindness, with understanding? Could she truly change everything she had known? One evening, as the sun began to set, Selena walked to the royal gardens again. She wasn't sure what she was looking for, but she felt the need to be alone, to think. She found herself walking toward the same pond where she had spoken with John days before. The water was still, reflecting the colors of the sky as the last rays of the sun slowly faded. It was peaceful, and for a moment, she felt at peace too. As she sat by the water, she heard footsteps approaching. She didn't need to look up to know who it was. John's calm, steady presence was something she had grown used to. He was a man of few words, but when he spoke, it was always with kindness. Selena had found herself wanting to be near him, not just because he was different, but because he made her feel understood. Mind if I sit? John asked softly. Selena nodded without saying a word. She was glad to see him, but she wasn't sure how to begin their conversation. There was still so much she didn't understand. Part of her was still scared of what it might mean to change. John sat beside her, his eyes looking out over the water. He sat in silence for a while, both lost in their thoughts. It was a comfortable silence, not awkward or forced. Finally, Selena spoke. John, I've been thinking about what you said, she began, her voice quieter than usual. About strength, about kindness. I don't know what to think anymore. I've spent my whole life believing in one thing, but now I'm not sure. If it's enough, If I'm enough. John turned his head to look at her, his expression soft but serious. Selina, it's okay to question things. It's okay to change. You don't have to be the person everyone expects you to be. Can be who you want to be. But what if who I want to be isn't what my people expect? She asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. What if I let them down? What if I'm not strong enough? John smiled gently, his eyes kind. The kind of strength you're talking about isn't the only kind that matters. True strength is in being honest with yourself. It's in doing what feels right, even if it's different from what others think is right. Selina looked away, her gaze fixed on the water. She knew he was right, but it was hard to let go of everything she had been taught. She had been raised to be a warrior, to fight and win, to show no weakness. But what if showing kindness and understanding was the true mark of a leader? John spoke again, his voice steady. I'm not asking you to change overnight, Selina. You don't have to have all the answers right now. But I believe in you, in who you are, not just what you've been trained to be. I think the people who truly matter will see that too. Selina felt a warmth in her chest, and for the first time in days, she didn't feel so alone. Maybe she didn't have all the answers yet, but she didn't have to be perfect. She could be herself, and that was enough. She turned to face him, her expression thoughtful. What do you think I should do? She asked. How do I start to change? John smiled again, a small, knowing smile. Start by being kind to yourself. You've spent so much time fighting for others, for your people. Now it's time to fight for what feels right for you. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Selina sat in silence for a moment, her thoughts racing. Could she really do it? Could she lead with kindness, without fear of being seen as weak? The idea seemed so different from everything she had known. But at the same time, it felt like the truth. I don't know if I'm ready to change everything, Selina said slowly. But I want to try. I want to learn. John nodded. That's all you need. The rest will come. As they sat together in the quiet evening, Selina felt a sense of peace settle over her. For the first time in her life, she wasn't sure about everything, but she was okay with it. She didn't have to be perfect. She didn't have to follow the rules that had been set for her. She could be someone new, someone better, someone who led with kindness. Thank you, Selina said softly, looking at John. For everything. You don't have to thank me, he replied. I'm just here to help. For the first time in a long time, Selina felt a sense of hope. Maybe she didn't have all the answers yet, but with John by her side, she knew she wasn't alone. That made all the difference. The days that followed were filled with more questions than answers for Selina. She felt a sense of peace she had never known before, but there was still a storm inside her. She had always been sure of who she was, a warrior, a princess, a leader. But now, as she spent more time with John, she started to feel the weight of her decisions. Was she ready to abandon everything she had been taught? Could she truly lead her people with kindness instead of strength? One morning, after a long night of troubled sleep, Selina woke early. The sun had just begun to rise, casting a golden light over the royal city. She dressed quickly, her mind racing. She needed to clear her head, to think without the pressure of her royal duties weighing on her. She left the palace and wandered through the gardens. The cool morning air refreshing against her skin, she walked for hours, lost in her thoughts. She thought about her father, the king, who had always taught her that a true ruler had to be powerful. He had taught her that strength was the only thing that could keep the kingdom safe. How could she abandon that? How could she be the leader her people needed if she was not the strongest? As she walked deeper into the garden, she spotted John sitting on a bench, looking out at the landscape, seemed at peace, as he always did. When he saw her, he smiled, his calm presence soothing her troubled mind. Morning, Selina. John greeted her, his voice gentle. Selina sat down beside him, her mind heavy. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, she began. About strength, about leading with kindness. I want to believe it, I really do. But I don't know if I can let go of everything I've been taught. John turned to face her, his eyes warm but serious. I know it's hard, Selina. You spent your whole life preparing for this role. But just because something has always been done one way doesn't mean it's the only way. Selena looked down at her hands, the weight of her thoughts pressing on her chest. I'm afraid I'll let my people down, she admitted quietly. What if they don't understand? What if they don't accept me if I change? John reached out and gently placed his hand on hers. You don't have to change everything, all at once. Start with what feels right to you. You're not alone in this. I'll be here to help you, every step of the way. Selena looked up at him, her heart pounding. She had always believed she had to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. But now, for the first time, she saw the possibility of sharing that weight with someone who truly understood her. Thank you, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I don't know what I'd do without you. John smiled softly, his eyes full of kindness. You don't need to thank me. You're the one who's changing, Selena. You're the one who's deciding to lead with love and understanding. That takes a lot of courage. Selena looked out at the garden, the flowers blooming in the soft morning light. For the first time, she didn't feel the pressure to be something. She wasn't. She could be a leader who cared, a leader who chose peace over violence. But she still felt the weight of her people's expectations. She wasn't sure how to bridge the gap between what she wanted and what her people expected. I'm so scared. John, she admitted. Scared of failing. Scared of what people will think. John's voice was steady, full of reassurance. Everyone is scared, Selena. It's normal to feel that way. But you don't have to do this alone. And the people who truly care about you will follow you, no matter what. Selena nodded, but a sense of doubt still lingered. She had spent so many years following the rules of her kingdom. How could she just turn her back on everything? How could she go against her father's teachings? Her mind was full of conflicting emotions, but deep down, she knew something had to change. If she truly wanted to lead her people, she had to be true to herself. Later that afternoon, Selena returned to the palace, her mind still racing. Her father, the king, was waiting for her in his private chambers. He looked up when she entered, his expression serious, as always. Selena, I need to speak with you, he said, his voice commanding. There are important matters to discuss regarding the kingdom. Selena nodded, but her heart was heavy. She had known this conversation was coming. She had been avoiding it, but now there was no escaping it. As they sat down together, her father spoke about the upcoming war council, talked about alliances, strategy, and strength, spoke of what needed to be done to protect their kingdom. But as he spoke, Selena felt her heart grow heavier. She realized that this was the path her father had always followed, fighting, conquering, winning. And now, she was being asked to follow it too. Father, I've been thinking, Selena began, her voice steady but unsure. Maybe there's another way. Maybe we don't need to fight. Maybe we can find a peaceful solution. The king's eyes narrowed, his expression hardening. Peace. There is no peace in this galaxy. Only the strong survive, Selena, and if we don't fight, we will be destroyed. Selena felt a pang of sadness in her chest. Her father's words felt like a heavy weight pressing down on her. Psh! Wanted to change? She wanted to believe that there was another way. But how could she convince her father, the king, that peace could be stronger than war? I believe peace is the answer, Selena said softly. I believe we can find a way to lead with kindness, but I can't do it alone. I need your support. Father? The king's eyes softened for a moment, but only for a moment. You are my daughter, Selena, but you must understand, the world we live in does not work the way you want it to. Strength is what keeps us safe. Don't forget that. Selena stood up, her heart heavy with the weight of her father's words. She had wanted his support, but now she knew that change wouldn't come easily, wouldn't be simple. But she had made a decision. She would try, with or without her father's approval. I won't forget, Father, she said quietly, but I will lead my way. Selena woke early the next morning, her mind still buzzing with the events of the day before. The royal council had not reacted the way she had hoped. When she spoke of leading with kindness, of bringing peace instead of war, there had been silence. Some council members looked at her with confusion, others with disapproval. Her father's expression was unreadable, but she could see the weight of disappointment in his eyes. She had hoped they would understand, that they would see the truth in her words. But instead, it felt like she had just made her life much harder. She had chosen a path that went against everything her people believed in. She had chosen to be different, and that scared her more than anything. As she stood in front of her mirror, looking at herself, she couldn't help but feel the pressure of her decision. Could she really do this? Could she change everything she had been taught and still lead her people? Or was she fooling herself into thinking peace was possible when strength had always been the only thing that mattered? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. She turned to see John standing in the doorway, his usual calm expression in place. "Mind if I come in?" he asked gently. Selina nodded, trying to smile, but her heart still felt heavy. "Of course. What brings you here?" John stepped inside and closed the door behind him. He could see the worry in her eyes, the uncertainty she was carrying. "I thought I'd check on you," he said. "How are you feeling?" Selina let out a sigh and walked over to the window, looking out at the vast kingdom below. The sun was just beginning to rise, and the city looked peaceful, almost serene. But she felt anything but peaceful. "I'm not sure what to feel anymore," she admitted. "I've made my decision, and now I'm starting to wonder if it was the right one." The council didn't react well. They don't understand. My father doesn't understand. John stood beside her, looking out at the city with her. "Your father may not understand, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. It takes a lot of courage to walk a path that no one else believes in. Or choosing to be the leader your people need, not the leader they expect." Selina looked at him, her eyes searching his face for reassurance. "But what if I fail? What if my people don't follow me? What if they refuse to change and I'm left standing alone?" John smiled softly. "You don't have to do this alone, Selina. You have me, and I know you have others who believe in you. You're not asking for a battle. You're asking for understanding. You're showing them a different way to lead, and that's something worth fighting for." His words brought her some comfort, but the fear still lingered in her chest. She knew what she had to do, but doing it was harder than she had imagined. She had spent so many years being trained for war, for battle, for victory, and now she was asking her people to turn away from all of that and embrace something completely new. It felt like she was asking them to throw away everything they had known. "I don't know if I can change everything at once," Selina said quietly. "I don't know if I can change their hearts." "You don't have to change everything at once," John replied. "Change starts small. You don't have to convince everyone right away. You just need to show them that it's possible. You've already taken the hardest step by choosing this path. The rest will follow." Selina took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words. Maybe he was right. Maybe she didn't need to change everything at once. Maybe she just needed to take the first step and trust that the rest would follow. But that was easier said than done. "I feel like I'm in over my head," she admitted. "I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I'm strong enough to change everything." John placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch gentle. "You're stronger than you think, Selina. The strength it takes to choose kindness, to choose peace, is greater than any strength you can find in battle. You're already proving that." Selina looked at him, her heart filled with a mixture of gratitude and fear. He believed in her. He had always believed in her. And for the first time, she felt like she could believe in herself too. "I wish I could see it the way you do," she said quietly. "I wish I could see my own strength the way you see it." John smiled, his eyes full of warmth. "You will. It just takes time." Later that day, Selina stood before the royal council once more. The decision she had made was weighing heavily on her heart, but she knew she had to face her people again. She had to show them that the change she was asking for wasn't a weakness, was a strength. She had chosen peace, and she would not back down now. As she entered the council room, the council members looked up at her. They were silent, waiting for her to speak. Her father, the king, sat at the head of the table, his gaze fixed on her with a mixture of concern and doubt. "Selina," began, his voice stern, "you've made your decision, but understand this our kingdom has always been built on strength. If you abandon that, we may lose everything." Selina stood tall, her heart steady. I haven't abandoned strength, Father. I've chosen a different kind of strength. Strength to lead with kindness, to show our people that there is more than just war and power. We can build a future where peace is possible, and I believe that's the true strength we need." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment the room was silent. Selena waited for a response, her heart pounding in her chest. She had said what she believed, but would they believe her? Would they follow her? Her father's expression softened, but he said nothing. The council members exchanged glances, unsure of what to say. But Selena stood her ground, ready to face whatever came next. She had made her decision, and she would not turn back. The days following Selena's bold declaration were filled with tension and uncertainty. The royal council had not given her an immediate answer, and her father, though he had softened his stance slightly, remained wary. But Selena was resolute. She knew her path was the right one, even if it was not the easiest one to follow. She had chosen peace, and she was willing to fight for it, even if that fight wasn't with weapons. As the sun set one evening painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Selena found herself standing in the royal gardens once more. The garden had become her place of reflection, a quiet space where she could sort through her thoughts. It was here that she had made the decision to embrace a new kind of leadership, and it was here that she had realized she could not do it alone. John, the human who had shown her a different way, had become more than just a friend. He had become her ally, her support, and, despite her fears, she knew that her heart was beginning to trust him in ways she had never expected. She had fought against her feelings for so long, but now, standing in the garden, she felt ready to face them. John arrived, as if he had sensed she was waiting for him. His calm presence was always comforting, and as he approached her, he gave her a soft smile. "You've been thinking again, haven't you?" Selena nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I can't seem to stop. There's so much I need to do, and I'm still unsure how to take the next step." John walked beside her, his hands resting loosely at his sides. "The next step is always the hardest," he said. "But you've already made the most important decision. You've chosen a new path, and no one can take that from you." She turned to look at him, her expression serious. "But what if it's not enough? What if my people won't accept it? What if they don't understand?" "They will," John replied confidently. "It may take time, but they will see that your strength comes from within, not from your ability to fight. You're showing them a different way to lead, and that's something worth following." Selena smiled, grateful for his unwavering support. "I hope you're right, but I know I can't do this alone. I need you by my side." John looked at her, his gaze full of warmth and understanding. "I'm not going anywhere, Selena. I'm with you, no matter what." A comfortable silence fell between them, and for a moment, Selena simply basked in the quiet peace that John's presence brought her. She realized then that he was more than just an ally. He was someone who truly cared for her, someone who believed in her when no one else did. And in that moment, she knew what she had to do. Turning to face him, she took a deep breath. "John," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about peace, about leading with kindness. And I realize now that I need you by my side, not just as an ally, but as something more." John's expression softened, and he took a step closer to her. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice low and gentle. "I mean, I can't lead this kingdom alone," Selena said, her heart racing. "But I also can't keep pretending that I don't feel something more for you. You've become so much more to me than just a friend. You've become the person who shows me what it means to lead with my heart, to lead with compassion." John was silent for a moment, as if processing her words. Then, a slow smile spread across his face. "Selena." Before he could say more, Selena took another step forward, closing the distance between them.
"John, I don't want to be alone in this anymore. I want you by my side, not just as a leader, but as someone I care for."
Will.
"You stand with me, not just as an ally, but as my partner." John's eyes widened, and for a moment, Selena worried she had said too much. But then his expression softened, and he reached for her hands. Selina, I never imagined this. But yes, I want to be by your side, in every way. I've always believed in you. And now, I believe in us. Her heart swelled with relief and happiness. For so long, she had struggled with her feelings for John, unsure of what they meant and whether she could trust them. But now, with his words, she knew that she wasn't alone in this journey. Together, they would face whatever. Challenges came their way. I'm not asking for anything grand, she said, her voice filled with emotion. I'm not asking for a title or a crown. I just want to know that we'll face the future together, side by side. John smiled, his eyes filled with sincerity. Selina, I don't need a title or a crown either. I just need you. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. With that, Selina felt the weight of the world lift from her shoulders. She had been carrying the burden of leadership alone for so long, but now she had someone who would share it with her. She wasn't just a princess anymore. She was a partner, a leader, and someone who had found love in the most unexpected of places. Together, they stood in the garden, hands intertwined, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. Selina knew there would be difficulties, but for the first time in her life, she felt certain that she was on the right path. She wasn't alone, and with John by her side. She believed that they could bring the peace and understanding she had always dreamed of.